Let's throw in one of these fancy transitions. Wow. Wow, there we are. Exit the studio mode. Beautiful. What's going on, guys? It's podcast day. Yeah.
Am I being cut off?
Music's a bit loud. Ooh. Let's do that.
Okay, I'll sit back here.
I know you. Why do you have so much headroom? You're perfectly centered when I look over at Discord, but you're not. I think I can fix that. Hold on. I swear I fixed it before.
I was just like eyes and up for a while there.
All right.
There we go. We bumped you up. Actually, I think that's pretty solid right now. We'll leave it there because then it'd be too much. Well, guys, what's going on? How you guys doing?
All right, just chilling.
Doing all right, you know. It is what it is. Just trying to get that first G2 for RTA. So
That's
see what
first.
happens.
Jason.
Yeah, first one. You know that. I've never been G2.
Really? I thought you had the.
Have you been
And
G2
you've
yet?
been fighting for G3.
No.
Almost at
I've never
2K points.
Have you
I'm
been
at
G2
19.
yet? You've been
I've-
G2, right, Zach?
Me? Yeah, I have
Yeah.
a G2 finish back in 2019.
Okay, so these two both need G2.
I've never even touched Guardian. I don't even have wings.
What happened?
I'm literally
You'll get-
30
you'll get
points
your
away.
Guardian.
I'm the closest I've ever been to Guardian, currently, at this moment.
Okay. Yeah, but you'd wipe the floor with me any day, though.
Well, yeah, that's you. Then every other player in Guardian has a 320 speed Chungpung, Waterryu, and Oki, and it doesn't matter.
What you're saying is you need to just stream snipe Stoic a lot. Steal all his points.
I feel like other people are already doing that.
Yeah, no, I'm doing terrible right now. I'm doing absolutely terrible. I've been struggling actually trying to keep this game open while I'm like off stream as well because of how frustrated I am. Today, it's end of season, and I just re-ruined everything. Like I re-ruined absolutely everything. I'm actually trying to go for. I'm not gonna call it turn 1 because everything's just violent will, but I made everything violent will. Like 260, 270 on like most of my units. My damage dealers, I kind of bumped them up, minus out of rag, of course, around like a 220 range for damage dealers. I ruined up in almost 300 speed Barbara for some reason. I didn't think I could do it, so I did a 300 speed Barbara. Maybe I can run it with like a speed lead, possibly. But everything is pretty much up there. Oki, violent will, 280 as well.
Sounds good. Move everything up 5 speed, so I never get spit.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, yeah, I know. Yeah, move everything up 5 more speed, and maybe we'll do it. But we'll see. I'm struggling.
Your Oki's faster than mine, so.
Is it? Oh, okay. Well,
As long as you have set up for all those units, it's fine. It'll work.
yeah, well, it's a different playstyle for me because I'm struggling. It's been so bad for me lately, so bad. Just turn 2 right now in today's meta, it's not fun because the turn 2 is turn 16
The only
after
way
everyone
to take,
going 4 times.
The only way to take turn 2 effectively is to debate that you're taking turn 1. If you go like Chiwu Tiana and it's actually a slow cleave, that's the only way.
Well, I mean, he also has Ragdoll Artemil, so like he
Well,
can viably throw
okay.
in the turn 2 like toss up
Yeah.
whenever he feels like it.
No, I wish it was. Like I'm watching all these Okis go in there, and I see my attack bars, and I'm like right there with some of my units, and I'm like, Oki's gonna hit me. Boom, I'm cutting 10% gain in my attack bar, and then I don't cut because I don't think they have a gap. Like everyone I'm playing, like their Okis and their next units are just there is no gap. And even if I cut, I'm not cutting because their units are still going in front of me.
Yep. Also, everyone's saying the music is too loud.
Again? Okay, I'll turn it down.
Yeah, 1 speed gap sounds about right. Most of my units that are like tuned to be in pairs are like 1 or 2 speed apart after everything.
Yep, that's mine too. Especially my Swift units. I gotta make sure things are tuned very, very tightly. So.
Or like when your units are slower too. Like if you're in like the 270 range for violent stuff, like
Mhm.
you really have to tune it 1 speed apart or on the same speed and then pick them in the right order. Because if you don't, like it's over.
I used to have that problem when I used Tiana, was picking things in the correct order because my Tiana was like the same speed as a couple things, and then I just picked it in the wrong order, and she'd be going after like the Lauren or whatever, like 3 or 4 metas ago. was brutal.
Overall, things are good. Nice new changes to the game. A lot of new stuff.
Do we want to just?
Hopefully new stuff coming soon too.
Is the volume okay now? By the way, guys, like, are we
I hope it is.
solid here? Is the music acceptable, or is it still overbearing?
I turned it down like a lot. Like it's pretty faint on my side. But I think it's good. Can hear you all now. Beautiful. Need a nerf Chungpong. You know,
We'll get to that.
I don't think
He needs it to be tuned a little, but
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get to that. He definitely has too much in his skill 2 specifically. Too much going on with that.
What if they? I'm just throwing it out there. I know everyone has ideas on different buffs, different nerfs.
Yeah.
My idea is either take away the def break or make it 50% activation.
If you take
It
away
already
the
is
death break, you literally just revert it back to pre-buff.
Yeah, and he was still good.
Not really.
Nope.
Still
not in
die
current
of
meta for sure. Okay, if you changed him back to the old stuff in current meta, he would not work because you would just die to all the bruisers, right? Because you need the defense break to deal damage. Juno will solo you every single time, no effort. You'll die to almost every vert because you'll never be able to kill them. Right? You'll never output enough damage against a Sierra, especially like with how many units are on additional damage right now. Like you'll never be able to control and kill like a Praha or a Juno or a Sierra or anyone's Diana. Like without that defense break in that team threat, you just have nothing, right? The biggest strength to Chungpong is the fact that you can push back and have so many attempts to push back a significant amount. His skill 2 is already 75%, right? Like it's frustrating if you hit it, but I got Chungpong like a couple days ago and I've used him, and honestly, his skill 2 is pretty inconsistent. His skill 3 is pretty strong, but his skill 2 is really inconsistent.
That's why I said I don't think he necessarily needs that nerf. I think he's pretty successful, but I often enough I see him not working on all 4 units though. Like when you're hitting all 4 units, nothing. You're not getting.
I've had those matches where he'll hit his skill 2 and miss absolutely everything. No, there's no way those units are on 100 res.
Yep.
And then the very next turn cycle, he'll violent proc and then he'll hit everything. So it's just coin flip.
I just think it's skill 3. If you want to change anything, skill 3 is not skill 2.
What would you change?
Attack bar reduction amount.
By how much?
75% on 3 hits is too much.
70?
So maybe like 50%.
No, it has to be something over 50, 60. The reason you want it over 50 is because if it's over 50, you can actually reset on the second hit. If it's at 50, it's going to be really uncommon to reset on the second hit.
I need to open up my game.
I think one of the other
things.
things.
Attack bar reduction.
What?
What is Ganny's attack bar reduction?
100%.
I thought it's not 100% anymore.
It's everything to 0 with Ganny. Everything to 0.
Yeah, everything to 0.
Why do I think they changed that?
I'll be real. The entire time, for the entire release of Chungpong, I thought his attack bar reduction was 50% per hit. 75% is absolutely absurd.
Oh, I think
75.
they moved it up to 75, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
When they buffed him, that's one of the things they did.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, because the thing is, okay, so the only time you reset with skill 3 is if you hit them when they're already at 0. So pushing them down to 0 doesn't reset them.
Right. But it's 3 hits.
Why
So
did
even at
they nerf
50%,
that when
you
they
get all
nerfed
3.
Like 50% glancing chance. It's like you risk fire units is really what it is, right?
That's true.
Plenty of times you triple glance a fire unit.
Yep.
All the time.
Ganny
Also,
only
why
had 2
Molly
nerfs?
is so good against it too,
I thought he
because
was
70
nerfed 3
chance to glance a
times.
fire unit.
Yep.
Never mind. Okay. Yeah, because I knew the ventilate you couldn't ventilate himself. They removed the strip from first skill. And then I thought they touched Ganny a 3rd time, and I thought it wasn't 100% attack bar reduction.
And then the 2 nerfs. So maybe that's what you're thinking of.
Just 2 nerfs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ganny got a buff a really long time ago, and then they nerfed him twice.
Yep. I still think Ventilate's busted.
Ventilate is the best skill in the game.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Never changed my mind on that.
The most broken skill in the game, in my opinion, because it makes cooldowns irrelevant, which is part of the way you
there's
balance
just nothing that stops it.
Yeah, it can't be stopped, and it negates cooldowns on a unit, which is part of how you balance a unit. So,
Yeah.
Especially with the
like
new
skill.
Water Girl. It's... Oh my god.
Hold on. We'll talk about that time. Let's move on to question number 2 here, because I think we're gonna be actually getting into it. Let's see here.
Okay, wait, before we jump into question number 1 and 2, for those of you
Okay.
guys who did not know, Agent Smith and LC33, can you guys introduce yourselves, please?
Oh, please, yes.
Not everyone knows you guys.
You wanna go first there, sir?
It's all you.
Okay, all right. I'm Agent Smith. Been around playing the game for 6 years, hanging out in Twitch chats, memeing, trolling, sniping, talkie. It's pretty much what I do. I'm kind of an okay player, mostly G1. Hoping for G2 this season. Yeah, that's. I don't stream very often. I stream once in a while, like very sporadically, and it's usually just RTA and music, and that's just what I do. So, that's me.
All right.
LC?
I'm LC. I have been playing the game for about 3.5 years now, and I've just been steadily getting better, trying to learn everything I can. Been getting into RTA for the past 1.5 years-ish, and just trying to climb my way through. My biggest claim to fame is that I pulled Oberon from a Wish, and I'm using him in RTA to try to get G1.
Not bad. For those of you guys who do not know, LC also recently got partnered on Twitch. So if you guys
Oh,
want to,
yes, thank you.
use your Twitch Primes anywhere, you should go give him your Twitch Prime, see if you can unlock some more emote slots. Come a little bit of love. We'll put all of the links below in the description and stuff. And I know this is the beginning of the podcast, but I apologize for not getting last week's podcast up. A lot of internet issues, a lot of malding because of my internet issues. I'll have both up this weekend before Thursday, 100%.
No worries, no worries. But still, Pod VOD, Command Pod VOD is the place to find those the VOD for the podcast. So if you guys did miss it, don't worry, it will be up there. And it is on OnceInLuv's YouTube channel. So if you're not subscribed to OnceInLuv, I don't know what you're doing with yourself, because you guys are also missing out on an incredible series called Experience Gained as well.
Yeah, let's get into it. So let's move on to the second topic.
All right.
Done with those introductions there. Basically, new units. What do you guys think? Onimushas, Onmyoujis, different elements, how they fit. What do you think about? Let's go through each individual unit first, and then we can talk about how they fit in the meta afterwards. Kind of just like an overall. I like the unit. I don't like the unit. I kind of like the unit. Let's start with the Onimushas. What do you guys think? Let's just go through elements. Fire one. General consensus.
I like one because I have Nephthys. Love to play with her. With Nephthys. But otherwise, I think if you don't have like a super debuffer like a Nephthys, I don't know how good she is. I think a lot of the girls are pretty weak overall, except the water one. But I think most of them are pretty weak.
Even the fire one?
Again, I think with a Nephthys, she's pretty good. Or any kind of strong debuffer, right? So you're going to be wanting to bring strong debuffer and her paired together. So, and I don't know her multipliers, and I don't know. I imagine a crit damage build would be interesting, but I'm not sure because I don't have one.
Do you have one?
What do you think?
No, I don't.
Oh.
I don't have one.
Okay.
I pulled the Fireboy. That's it. Nothing else.
Same.
In 300 something scrolls. And that was from the event scroll. That's how I got the Fireboy. So.
Oh.
So what do you think, Kelsey? You seem to have opinions ready for the Fire Onmyoji.
The Fire Onmyoji. I mean, I thought it was already pretty good. Then they came out with the speed lead as well. I think she could pair very well with certain units in the meta, Belinus, Rika, especially with the speed CC cleave that's so prominent right now, with how easy it is to seem to get a Water Ryu or a Chiwu these days, paired with an Oki, Chung Peng. Like that's pretty. Like you def break glancing with Chiwu S2, you stun with Oki, and then the fire Onimusha, or I can never pronounce it. Sorry. Just
Fireboy and Fire Girl.
Fire Girl. Fire Girl comes in, and attack bar decreases, gets another turn immediately, does some crazy damage. I haven't seen her in action. This is all theory crafting, but I can see it fitting very well in the meta currently.
That's fair. That's fair. I would like one to try out, and if I did have one, I would probably build it similarly to, in terms of speed, I think I'd build it similarly to where my Sierra is. and I would use her as the secondary speed lead option pick team into people who have Ragdoll Artemil, and I would use it with my Jojo with my Sion or my Malaka to instantly set off bombs and also extend debuffs. So I think the skill 3 potential in there is pretty good. I know a lot of people are saying like, fights don't last long enough where you can get your skill 3, or like there's too many people who have like Juno and stuff, and I agree it is difficult to use the skill 3, but I think that skill 2 is pretty strong if used properly in accordance with the speed lead. I do think, however, if she didn't have a speed lead, I don't think she'd be good. I think the speed lead is what carries her into a position where she's actually usable.
Yeah.
In comparison to, let's say, like Shizuka or the wind one.
Yeah, it allows much more flexibility in drafts because you don't have to take a second speed lead.
She's basically just win harder unit. It's like if you're winning already, she kind of secures the win for you, but she's not a win condition, right?
I'll give you that.
That's
not
how
like
I feel.
hitting a skill 2 on an Oki, or like hitting a big skill 3 on a Chung Pung into like fire units, right? It's not that this unit makes a move and it can win the game. It's when this unit moves, I have to already be winning.
It's fair. It's very fair.
So it's the same principle. It's like, why wouldn't I just bring a Sierra with bombers instead of her? It's, skill 1's way better. You could bring both. Yeah. Then how you fit in your stripper?
If you don't have a Ciara, though, would this be a viable replacement? It's definitely not as good as Ciara.
It doesn't do the same thing at all.
Yeah,
It doesn't do the same thing. But yeah,
I do think she's a viable speed lead. I mean, curses or the karma curse skill is usable and viable. It's just how effectively can you use it to set up, right?
Do you
right
think
now
it's fair
the
at 4 turns, the karma? Well, 3 turns. I'm sorry, 3 turns scaled up.
I think 3 turns is fine.
Yeah.
It does 50% of your max HP. I think 3 turns is fine.
Because the only thing I see is I think of like Monkey Kings and Dragonites, where they have a very impactful second skill. And for Kama, I feel like that wouldn't be that bad if that was every other turn, and that might give more viability to Kama because it can be resisted.
If Karma was 2 turns, people would just run Karma units with really tanky bruiser teams, and just out tank you, and just it would basically be like Bulwark every 2 turns, right?
Well, Bruiser right now, honestly, it's so tough to play Bruiser right now. Is that bad that Bruisers would get another unit?
I think Bruiser's kind of just shifted to what it. Yeah, Bruiser's just shifted to like Oracles, just additional damage.
Yeah.
Oracles. Like
Yep.
you don't really Bruiser anymore. You run Juno Praha if you want to do something like that, right? Like you don't. That role has transitioned away, and I don't think that that's necessarily something that's going to make that playstyle improve.
I think that would be an okay buff to Karma. If it did, we did get a. Well, I'll be honest with you. A new unit shouldn't. Well, I guess new units can receive a buff. I like to see other stuff. Like when I see a new unit and it's not that good, part of me just wants to say, get back in the line. There's way more units that need to receive these buffs right now. But because they're new, and maybe a lot of people spend money on them trying to receive these units, and then they get them, and then we find out that they're not that great. I would like to see a buff to Karma.
I think if you were to change something with Karma, you'd probably add the Sekhmet caveat to it. If it misses, you just get the cooldown back. Right, you lose the turn,
That'd be
but
great.
you get the cooldown.
Yeah, that'd be
I
great. I
like
think
that.
that'd be solid.
I think it's fine.
I think a lot of skills could use that caveat, honestly.
I disagree. I think there are way
Not-
too many
not a
skills where if you
lot,
gave it back,
but-
it'd be way too strong.
Not a lot, but a few.
Like even Sekhmet's is not Sekhmet's is not bad because it does damage as well. So I fought somebody who ran a crit damage Sekhmet with no accuracy, and it just it resisted the skill 3 like 4 times in a row. So she just kept slamming me with skill 3 over and over. Right? It's something that I think is fine for Karma because Karma doesn't have like an initial strong hit damage. So I think it's okay to refund that, right? The skill 3 is like fairly difficult to use, and you kind of want to just hold it into the right place. But it's like an offensive version of Silence is really what it is. I think honestly that it's better than Silence. But that's mainly because I don't think there's that many good two-turn Silence units. It's like you have Sea Emperor skill 2s.
Yeah.
Right.
At least that's AoE.
You have to AoE though. You have to AoE. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
AoE is really punished right now in the meta. AoE is extremely punished right now in the meta.
Yep.
Like it's the strongest, but it's also the most punishing at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because Juno Bird are so prevalent.
Juno Bird, fight you every day.
Yeah.
with your
Let's
draft,
move on. Shizuka.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about Shizuka?
She's pretty good. I don't think she's as broken and overpowered as everyone seems to believe that she is. I think there's ways to play around her. I think she's strong. Don't get me wrong. I think her skills are quite good. Definitely a place in the meta. Definitely going to be used more often as people slot her in. The problem I see is in the current meta is how do you slot her in when you're running your Sierras, your Okies, Strippers, Beast Riders, other things like that. There's a place for her. I'm like, if I pulled her tomorrow, I wouldn't be able to fit her in anywhere on my team, even though she's pretty good. So I would think she's more of a 4 or 5 type pick, like a 4-span sort of thing. And that's probably how I would use her. But she's good.
I think I like her as well. When I first saw her introduced, I thought she was totally broken. It didn't make sense that when she used that skill, just everything came out of the woodworks on your units, and you're like, where did all this just come from? Because it didn't make sense when you were seeing like provokes, the bombs, and it's all at like 1 turn, stuns. Just the woodworks really comes out when that skill's dropped. And when I first saw it, I thought it was super busted. As a turn 2 player, it's very oppressive, but I think if I had one as a turn 2 player, it's a unit that I potentially would maybe ruin on like high resistance to try and flip a match.
Has that big swing potential because everything
Exactly,
that your opponent's done to you, you just throw back at them. It's almost like Pm Pst 1, but everything.
And that skill 2 kind of is a little bit of a saving grace because, like I said, if I were turn 2 running a lot of bruiser comps, that skill 2 has that ability to bring someone back from the dead to do something that might be impactful. Being turn 2 or being a bruiser, usually your opponent's going more turns than you. I can't always say that. I just say that in my case, where my opponent takes a lot more turns than I, so I'm more than likely going to have cooldowns if something did drop, where I can bring that unit back with that skill 2. And the skill 2, if people are not familiar with it, summons the soul of a dead ally, and then whatever. It's not instant cooldowns, right? It gets an instant turn.
Whatever
cooldown. Yeah, okay. Whenever to cooldown when it died. I think that'd be really nice for someone in like my position. I would love to pull one.
I don't know how that S2 interacts with certain mods, but I saw it res a Kaki today, and it made the Kaki crit.
Yeah, because passives don't apply.
Passives are dead, yeah. Because passives don't apply when it's res.
Oh, do they not?
When you bring something back to life, the passives don't apply.
Well then.
It's like if you brought down a ragdoll, if you brought back something else that had like a beast rider, the passive wouldn't apply. So that's important.
Interesting.
Sure.
Okay.
It's basically so you can't bring back Bird to take an extra to give attack bar. Because a lot of those other units, like their passive is good, but their passive is irrelevant if they die the next turn, right? But like you can't bring back a Bird for 1 turn, or like bring back a Molly to heal someone for 1 turn.
Okay,
like that, right?
That makes sense. I saw the clip and I'm like, what is going on? But that makes sense.
I mean, that's some gimmicky stuff, but it's interesting.
I think Shizuka's fine. I think she fits well enough in the meta. I don't think she's like broken, but I think she fits pretty alright in there, you know.
What I thought was interesting is I've seen it used with the Molong, where it brings a Molong back and you can use Reckless Assault. I mean, if you read Reckless Assault, does it make sense? So Reckless Assault launch self and the damage the enemy 70% at the cost of the amount of HP he takes from himself, right?
Yeah, you're basically full HP. You revive full HP for 1 turn.
But do you actually lose the HP? What happens?
It doesn't matter. You die instantly.
So die, and when it brings you back again, you're back to
Okay,
full
so
HP.
the way it works is when you bring back an ally, that ally is not technically alive. It's
Yeah.
just like a ghost for 1 turn, right? So you treat it as a 100% HP ghost that dies at the end of the turn. It's like a wraith.
Kind of like Molong with invincibility. He's not losing any HP, but he's still dealing the damage. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you lose the HP, you just die anyways. It doesn't make a difference, right?
Yeah.
Is the point.
Yeah.
What you take doesn't matter.
I think with Ganny, she's oppressive, but a lot of mons with Ganny are oppressive.
Oh yeah.
Pick any monster, they're oppressive with Ganon.
Yeah.
Where's my Ganon? Oh, whoops.
Yeah, most definitely.
I think, okay, so people have been asking this, and this is a common question I've been getting, but people are wondering like how we feel about the skill 3 all things in nature being like all or one. It's a check, right? It's one check for all debuffs or nothing, right? I personally think it's better that way because if you put each individual check, there's just so much more you have to like pay attention to, and also like it makes the skill a lot stronger to give it each individual check.
I wonder if when you click, because I don't have one, I wonder if you click the skill, the accuracy res check goes against the unit you click on, as opposed to
I think it goes to
someone
everybody.
random.
I think everybody gets it.
It goes through every single person? Okay.
I would hope it goes to everybody.
I don't know. I don't have one. I'm not sure how it works. But be
I
interesting.
have to check my replay because I recently played one, and I was just doing some testing inside Goodwill, and I'm pretty sure I brought 2 high resistant units, one being max resistance, and I still ate everything. I'd have to look for it.
Probably. I mean, the thing is, max resist is only good against units that don't run accuracy, right? But if you're running accuracy on everything, then max resist is irrelevant.
Yeah. Some people in chat are saying that they've missed on one and hit on others. So it's check on everybody. So that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, overall, I'd say Shizuka's good. I'd say current. She's probably the strongest one.
Yeah,
out of the-
definitely.
Yeah,
the
she's the
strongest.
strongest.
Yeah.
Probably the easiest to use as well.
Well, that's just because her role is the clearest, and the mons are still pretty new. As we go down the line.
Geo, for once, not an OP wind unit. So Geo is the wind.
Yeah.
No, not OP at all.
passive. So
I,
the passive is every time someone uses a cooldown, you get 25% attack bar. If they break the karma curse, then you reset the cooldown on it. I think that the only thing they need to, I think she needs a different awaken, and she'd be great. Accuracy awaken is good because it makes sense for skill 1, skill 2. But if you change the accuracy awaken to give an amplified effect to skill 2, she would be a lot stronger. She'd be a lot stronger. With her passive though, she does honestly have the potential to be one of the fastest and scariest units in the game. But the only problem with that is the inconsistency of it, right? Like she is a single target pseudo control unit. Like she doesn't have hard control, but she has the potential to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, I managed to pull one on my China server alt. So I was playing around with her a little bit. Not great, but I don't think she's the worst unit ever. I just think people haven't figured out quite how to utilize her in the meta, if she even has a place. Maybe she doesn't. I think if I had her on my main, I'd build her Swift to just be a really fast Swift set, just turn cycling machine. But you know, I'm not. I think she needs a little something. She needs a little something. I don't know what it is, but she needs something.
I feel like Karma's just too easy to play around, and as pretty much being her only thing, it's you take one cleanser, one Annabelle, one Fran, and if you want to, you can't silence anybody else. You can't karma anybody else because they're just going to cleanse it.
Yeah.
I agree. She needs a little more something. I don't know what that is, but yeah, I'm kind of in that boat as well.
Even if it was like a skill awakening to help her out.
Something.
That,
Something.
like,
Well,
maybe
what would
added
you-
to the passive or something.
Well, it's
I
like
think
getting a little bit of
accuracy
attack
awakening
bar.
is generally one of the best awakens in the game. But the problem with accuracy awaken is that it's only relevant if you actually have like strong debuff skills, right? When you're super single target like that, you really don't need that kind of unit, right? Like you don't need that kind of awaken. You need something that either amplifies your like rotations and damage, or you need something that allows you to heavily control something, right? So like if you're using a unit like Geo where you get extra attack bar, so you have a built-in passive that gives you extra turns. You have something that resets your skill. The problem is that the skill itself needs to have more pressure because it's the only thing you have in your kit, right?
Mhm.
So if you have a kit, so like, okay, so Karma, if you land it and they pop it, it takes 50%, right?
Yeah.
So what happens in this situation is you need to have something that is the fail-safe in the skill built in, and it needs to be the awaken for the skill. Right? If it misses or if it hits and someone cleanses it, like there's some sort of like additional punishment or something. There needs to be something.
What if if people play around it, it just ticks down and it goes off anyway after like 2 turns? So you
That'd
could
be
choose to
interesting.
pop it now, or it goes off anyway. I don't know. I'm
You're
just
kinda
thinking.
forced to cleanse it.
Yeah. Where it's like either going to guarantee to go off, or you choose like, okay, I want to pop this now because I can take care of it now. Maybe that would give it something.
Wouldn't that just be a bomb with conditions?
Yeah, kinda. But
It would be a bomb without stun.
That's true too.
So like Karma would
So
go
worse
off, no stun.
What if it's stunned?
well, I mean, does that? The point of Karma is so that they use their skill. You're trying to get them to pop their skills to
Yeah.
drain the HP. So, because I thought about that, I was like, well, what if it's left? Well, I was like, well, you actually want them to use their skills, so that wouldn't work.
No.
I think Geo should have an awaken for skill 1 that gives her a chance to use skill 2 after skill 1.
Like
Her
yeah.
base stats are good enough to do something like that, and it makes her more of a standalone unit, and targeting her becomes an issue, and it also punishes AoE.
Something like a
so kind of like if
Drunken
you
master.
target her, her Karma can go off. Is that what you're saying? As like an awaken?
So okay, so if you, I want her awakened to like, so take away the 25% awaken, right?
Yep.
And what I want it to be is I want it to be a change to skill 1, where skill 1 is like every time you skill 1, you can automatically apply skill 2 afterwards. Her skill 1's a strip as well, so like it does have that like synergy, but then it also gives you the option, like her base stats are pretty good, right? All the base stats of the Onmyoujis are pretty strong. I think adding something like that could be like potentially strong enough to use her to punish AoEs. Obviously it's hard because she's a wind unit for that. Like I think the counter pick AoE punish units are more fire, but it would be interesting. Or maybe like Karma like reduces, or they could even like buff Karma as a debuff overall and say if you're under the suppression, the curse suppression, like you also gain reduced attack bar when you gain attack bar naturally, right? Like so it's like a mini slow debuff plus the suppressant. Like slow debuff is 30%. Let's say like Karma. Well, I know it's not called Karma debuff, but let's just call it Karma for the sake of it. For the sake of brevity. Let's say like Karma debuff was like if you break it, it's 50%, but it also slows you down by like 10% or something, right? It would be enough pressure of a debuff that people would not ignore it. Like they would be forced to cleanse it or forced to pop it because it changes turn order so quickly. Even losing 5% of your speed is more than enough to change turn order on people. And like that's why Water Ryu is so strong, right? You drop 10% of someone's attack bar, everything changes.
Yeah, I just think Karma does need something. I'm sure Comptolus or somebody smarter than me could figure it out, but it needs a little something. So,
or even if Karma was all 3 turns, for example, right? Like it's just 1 extra turn of pressure. Like I think cleansing it is okay because it forces you to use a cleanse skill on it, right?
Yep.
But I think that there needs to be pressure if it's left there, right? There needs to be something that applies a little bit more pressure to make you really think like, do I want to cleanse this or do I want to just pop it now? Or like, can I go 3 turns with it just sitting there, right?
I mean, if she's a Karma machine already, where her passive helps get Karma back up again, what if we did it kind of like you were saying, but with, so first skill has a chance at activating the second on whoever you're deciding to hit, but it would put it on cooldown. But because it was up, which means the passive takes Karma back down, so it doesn't really matter then, right? Because the passive takes Karma down if it gets applied, or once it finishes, it gets applied. It resets cooldown.
The thing with Karma though is like there's no punishment for just letting it expire, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. That's what I was trying to think is a solution. Is if you let it expire, something happens. Like it goes off anyway, or something else occurs, or you get some kind of debuff, something along those lines.
What if she had a Heartet kind of feel to her, where if you let it expire, she absorbs
Stacks.
and she gains stats from your opponent?
What if it was stacks, and it was stacks for more attack bar in the past?
Yeah, but then it's
yeah.
just more attack bar to just keep applying more karma.
Yeah, why not?
I don't mind the idea of karma automatically applying after a certain amount of turns, but I think if you were to do that, I think I'd want it to be 3 turns. Like karma automatically blows up, but only after 3 turns is something I'd be cool with. I'd want to see it first before, like, obviously it's one of those things where like I want it to be applied to the game, see how it works and see if it's actually good enough. Because I mean, I'm always worried about over buffing things.
Yep. I'd rather they come out with units like this where they're slightly undertuned, and then they can tune them to be a little better, rather than what happened with the Beast Riders, where they, one of them are just super broken when they were released, and then you don't get them, and then you're sad, as you sit on the edge of C3 and G1.
Every unit in the game is entirely balanced.
Of course. My bad.
Conversations about from LD5 abusers.
Hey, calm down, calm down.
You're gonna get your LD and be an abuser with us one day, so.
Yeah, when my LD ends up being like a Laura, and I'm like, okay, well, today we lose 400 points, guys.
Well, that's pretty good. I know what you're talking about. Def buff is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Get a nice.
If you like having yellow stars, yeah.
Yeah. He's a Ramahan and Olivia, all that stuff.
Some great Nat 3, Nat 4 combos. Very
Yeah.
good.
Second Awakens, hey.
Yeah, overall, like, it seems like for the most part, Karma could use a pretty significant change, either to the skill or to the way that the debuff is applied and activates. So I think that's kind of like the big table mention is like things we could do to Karma that can really adjust it. All right, let's talk about the light and dark ones. I think the light one is sick, but I also have only seen like 1 or 2 of them, so it's really hard to say whether it's actually good. I think it's sick because I think Past Life Spell, like the Shizuka skill 2, is actually a really good skill. And then the kind of like debuff buff limiting thing is pretty cool. I think she's a really strong force ban for that reason.
So it's that same second skill as the water, right?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really looked into this unit at all for this third skill.
Okay, let me explain. I'll go through it.
Yep,
So it
go on.
limits the number of harmful effects on allies and beneficial effects on enemies to 1 turn, except for bombs, and doesn't apply to bosses, obviously. So she's really good against Nyx. She stops immunity teams pretty well, and she's pretty strong against really heavy like debuff focused teams that like require 3-turn debuffs. So like someone slams a Nyx down, if you pick this unit, they probably have to ban it, right?
So she's
like
a
a
stoic
premium
unit.
Tetra.
She's a stoic unit. Too.
She is a stoic unit.
Yeah, it's Stoics X next LD Nat 5, guys.
Oh,
There you
if
go.
so. I like that defense lead. I'll take that. That'll help me.
This unit is the Fados counter, the Callahan counter. No, honestly though, I think she's pretty good, but I do think that the strength from her really comes from the fact that force ban passive plus good skills already. If she was force ban passive plus karma, she'd be like all right, but I don't know if she'd be as strong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't seen one in play, so I just imagine that they're hard to summon. So we'll have to see how they play out. It looks on paper though, looks like a turn 2 unit to me. So nice, good, solid support.
All right, my mind just went to theory crafting. If you use S2, the past life on a Reser,
You can
Can they-
revive
you
if the
can-
skill's up.
can it revive themselves? Because they're
They
not
don't
technically
have checks.
alive.
Well, like take Vanessa. Vanessa can't revive herself, so
What
some
about
of them,
Terrans, though?
some can't. Tyrannus maybe. I don't know. We'd have to. Someone
Probably can't revive yourself.
I've seen it with the Tyrannies.
You probably only revive other units.
Yeah, you revive the other unit. So if you bring out the Tyrannies and you can revive another unit. But
Just revive the Reser to revive the other Reser to revive the third Reser, and then just rinse and repeat.
4 Resers. Yes, 4 Reser team. Let's go, boys.
yeah, it would have to be like a
Eladriel.
self revive.
Amarna.
Okay.
Tyrannus, Kern. There you
Yeah, I
go.
guess the reason they can't revive themselves is because they're treated as alive. That's probably why.
Mm.
So like,
So if they are alive,
Unless you
then
soul
would you be
protect
able to
yourself.
put soul protect them?
and then
Yeah.
well,
Yeah,
Jim says you just
what-
die.
Oh,
He soul protects and then dies.
oh.
Well, Sag.
All right. They thought of everything. Okay.
Yeah, there's not too much to talk about that. I mean, it's just a pretty straightforward cut and clear unit.
Mm,
yeah.
And then the last one, the dark one, the Curse of Death. So Curse of Death is for those of you guys who are Pokemon players, it's like Perish Song. You basically take 25% of HP per turn for 4 turns. However, you can heal over it, you can heal through it, etc. With Perish Song, you just die. But it's basically a 4-turn kill on something, right? I want to say the skill is good because it's really strong, but because it's I'm pretty sure it's a debuff, which means it can be resisted, which means you can be Sag.
mhm. And then Karma goes with it.
Yeah,
Yep.
and with Karma too. So I feel like on paper she's really cool.
It can't be cleansed though, right?
Cannot be removed.
The
Yeah.
the
you can
the,
heal.
the cursive one, no, but you can just heal through
but
it.
karma can. Yeah. Okay.
So like in a perfect world, you Curse of Death something, and then you use Karma on their Fran or something like that. But the thing is, like, they can still heal, right? Like even though it can't be cleansed, you can still heal that unit because it doesn't heal block them.
Mm-hmm. So anything like
Yeah.
a Tetra or a Molly or something will just go straight through that.
Yeah.
So, something I did think of is units like the Dark One and like units with Karma. They're good in Guild Wars because you can bait the AI to do stuff. So
Mhm.
they're not the worst units ever. I mean, we're all just thinking of RTA, but
Yep.
I know some people care about Guild Wars and Siege and those sorts of things. So it's a pretty good unit to bait AI. Same with the Dark One. I don't know how good it is in RTA, particularly because you can heal through it, you can play around Karma, those kinds of things. So I don't think it's the best one. I think the water one's probably the best one out of all of them, but it's not a bad unit, and certainly it can be used in other places.
Well, now if you go back and think about it, so the win one, not good for ATA, but the win one in Guild Wars, isn't it kind of different because you're able to apply so much Karma, and then it's actually viable because the AI is using cooldowns all the time?
You could certainly bait AI into doing those sorts of things. I just everyone wants a unit to be good in RTA too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's really what it boils down to.
I mean, I think some units, they're always going to have that use where they've been buffed and they're still never going to be good for ATA, but they do have use elsewhere. And maybe that might just be one of the cases here where we have Karma and they don't touch it, but it's still viable in guild content. So who knows? If it doesn't receive a buff, that might just be the way how everyone has to look at it. Just because it's not viable for ATA doesn't mean it's a bad unit necessarily.
Just
Like
because
Tomo is
something.
incredibly good for TOA.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
TOA is really good.
Yup.
And a
Just because
speed unit.
a unit isn't good in RTA doesn't mean it's got other places in the game it can be used.
It's just usually how it's translated.
It's translated because that is the goal, is it not?
Yeah.
Why do you farm if not to go play RTA?
It's true.
I guess some people do. Just
Yeah.
to farm.
A lot of players just play Siege.
I have this feeling that
I've
Geo
seen
is going to
farm.
be super OP one day. Because they do that with wind units all the time.
Probably.
They buff the wind unit and it just becomes insanely strong. I have a feeling
Geo-
like in a year
Geo-
and a half, Geo is just going to be this absolute monster of a unit because they're going to buff her way too much. She's going to be the next Ethna. She's going to get a buff and then a buff
God.
and then another buff. And then she's going to be good and then they're going to buff her again.
That's like what happened to Poseidon. I actually Tyler pulled me a Poseidon 2 birthdays ago, and I was like, I don't need this crap.
And he
Fed
fed
it.
it away.
I was like, there's
Oh,
there's
no.
no way they'll buff it again. And that's
Oh,
when they
no.
buffed the skill 3 non-glancing.
Yeah,
it's
and then they buffed it again after that. And you're like, wait a minute.
My hands.
That's the same story of my 4 Chiwus.
Oh,
So
This is why I tell you
Chiwu's
guys, always.
terrible.
Everyone's always like, guys, do I feed my only blank? And I'm like, The
Just
answer
don't.
is no, and if you
Yeah,
do,
the
I have
answer
no
is-
pity for you ever in the game.
Well,
anymore.
okay, so then let me justify it. When I pulled him a 5th time, I said he's not my playstyle. He was already buffed, and then I fed him again.
Now,
And he wonders why he can't take turn 1, guys.
Damn.
Oh, we know why I can't take turn 1. I used to have like 40-something Swift runes. And like only 3 or 4 of them were over 20 speed.
Oh,
get in
God.
giants. Get in giants turn. Go farm.
I know.
Yeah, okay, so Onmyouji's basically covered. Let's go over the Onimushas.
Much better units overall.
Kaki, the fire one, I think is nuts.
Absolutely
I
crazy.
think he's really nuts.
Anybody starting Summoner's War right now, do the event. Hopefully you pull one, and you now no longer need to put any runes on your farmer.
Yeah,
Just throw the khaki
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
yeah.
Pretty much.
I don't know how I feel about that though. You know what I mean? Like, how many people like start the game and they're like, okay, so I'll get Lapis. It's a nice vampire set that you pick up. You know, you can get some violent runes through the challenges, and then you're like, okay, so my Lapis fails about 85%, or it's successful like 85% of the time, and then it fails once in a while. But this is your current farmer, and then there's someone who just started the game, pulls a khaki right out of the event, and they're like, oh wow, this thing's great, already farming, and this guy's over here trying his darnest with his Lapis. But he didn't pull the unit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how I feel about a unit that was introduced at that level for a 4-star.
Sure, he's really strong, but I don't really have a problem with the game being easier for new blood because the more people playing, the longer the game lives. So
Mhm.
it doesn't bother me any. But yeah, Fireboy's pretty good. It's the only one I got. I built him. I used him in a few RTA matches, and he just deletes people,
nice.
and it's beautiful. It is nice. It's nice,
That's
especially with Nephthys, because I get the Nephthys off, and then he goes and he will just delete 3 units, and it's
Yep.
pretty beautiful.
I
Easy
think
to ruin. I think he's very,
Very
was a
easy to
little-
ruin.
surprised that they recover by 30% of the damage dealt, because that's a lot. That's a vampire.
It's more than a vamp. It's more than a vamp set.
Yep.
That's yeah. That's a lot.
Also, have any of you guys seen their
How do you pronounce
multipliers?
it? It's Fuki. Fuki.
Multipliers are crazy. It's like 1750, I think. On the
For
skill.
what?
For Kaki skill 2. If 1250, okay.
Yeah,
So if he
1250.
gets if he gets Oblivion and you have him on crit damage, which is
Well, that's
pretty
insane.
cheesy.
I was
It's
just
really
thinking about.
cheesy, but you can just deal like
next-
100k damage.
I believe the next highest multiplier in the game is Brandia S3 at like 8.4 or something like that. And to have all these guys being nat 4s at 12.
So the thing is, okay, so the difference between those multipliers is like crit damage amplifies your multiplier.
That's
a
true.
lot as
You're
well,
right. I feel like the multipliers are compensating for their lack of ability to crit.
Yes,
Yeah,
that was
that's
the
exactly
idea.
what it's for, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is because they don't utilize crit when you glance, it's not nearly as punishing either. It's like it's a floor ceiling comparison, right? Units
Mhm.
that can't crit have a really tight window where it's like when you glance you deal a good amount, and then when you crush you deal a good amount. Where it's like with crit damage units, like your floor and ceiling go from here to here to like here,
Mhm.
or like maybe lower. But like if you glance, you don't crit and you deal reduced damage. If you're a unit that doesn't have crit damage, you just deal the reduced damage. You don't also lose the crit damage bonus that you would normally have.
Mhm.
Right? It's like Lucian. Like when you have a Lucian on like 200 crit and it crits, it deals 11k or whatever, right? If it doesn't crit and it glances, it deals like 3k.
Yep.
Because you lose the crit bonus, and then you get, generally, if it's element disadvantage, you get 46% of your total damage output. So
No, it's just crazy that they would be that insanely easy to ruin and do.
I like it.
insane damage.
I like it. I think it's fun.
It is fun. It counters.
He's probably
meter.
gonna get tuned down, but it's fun right now. So
Yeah, we'll see.
Um,
As of now, I think he's one of those 4-star units. If you have one, you ruin him up. Like if you have a Garo, you have one ruined up for RTA, because you never know when a Garo may go in there in solo. Same thing with Miho. You never know when a Miho is going to solo. And I think he's one of those units that if you have it, just ruin it up for RTA because you may need it.
I think the only thing that's too strong about him is honestly the speed. The speed awaken makes him pretty strong.
That is
15%
insane.
speed
as
on any
well.
unit that's already good is nuts. Like if my blue Kaki had 15 more speed, he would be insane. Well, maybe he wouldn't be insane. He would be a lot better. He'd be a lot better.
I think they're all good.
I had him at 260 something, but if I had him at 275, he'd be that much stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got Fireboy at 260 violent will, so he can just delete things. Pretty nice.
Revenge sets are nuts on him too. You revenge somebody, violent out. You revenge somebody, it's over. Defense break revenge. You hit someone, it's over. It's over. That unit dies 100%.
I was told day one to rune him Despair, and he's actually been pretty fun.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I wouldn't do that.
If the AoE was at least like a double tap, I think Despair would have been okay. But
It's
just
still
a
pretty
single hit,
fun
so-
though when you stun 2 units and then kill another one. It's nice.
Overall, I feel like they're good though. Kaki's good. I think the blue Kaki, Suiki is okay. It's nice that you have the double like life draining skills. The passive stacking takes forever.
Well, it's another stoic unit, so it's like it's better for longer bruiser type teams. You know, takes forever to stack up, but yeah.
And it's also resist awakening, which is kind of frustrating because like as much as I want to say like resist awakening makes building 100 resist useful, it's not great because resist is just terrible. It's a substat.
Well, yeah. Well, maybe when we're in open forum, we'll talk a little bit about resist because I mean, the higher you go in terms of like ranks, the less resistance becomes relevant, and it becomes more like 15% RNGing somebody is super important, and that's it. Yep.
Oh yeah. Overall, he's cool. Wind one, I really like. It's the HP typing one. I think it's more of a Guild Wars unit than an RTA unit. I'm not sure what you guys think on that.
I mean, the second you say HP typing, it's Guild Wars. It's definitely not RTA for sure.
Yeah.
So it decreases current HP by 20% to increase damage additionally by 20% of the lost HP.
So he hurts himself to dish it out to others, I guess.
Yep.
So he's like a worse Molong. Okay.
Kind of. He's like a smaller nuke, more consistent Molong.
Yeah, that's Guild Wars. That's a lot.
Oh, good.
Dark one though. That dark one. Tasty.
Trying to think
I
what you
thought
could pair that Fuki up with in Guild Wars as like a offense team. Since he does that, like, what other what is it? Pungbeck? Is it Pungbeck that reduces everyone's HP and then nukes one?
No, he
other way
nukes
around.
one and then nukes everyone. That's Pungbeck.
Yeah, nukes one and does half the damage to everybody else fixed damage.
So yeah, everyone gets half fixed damage. So wouldn't because Fuki's an AoE for that second skill, dealing a ton of damage as well. So wouldn't it just be like a Pungbeck Fuki cleave?
You could try, but isn't the setup for Pungback just a single target defense break, and then
And attack buff.
an attack buff? Yeah. With Fuki, you need AoE defense break. Similar, but
So
still.
no, that wouldn't work. I was gonna say because you still don't have a strip in there for all the well. I was gonna say Galleon Pungback Fuki, but everyone's gonna be willed up anyways.
You could shield will it, let them go first, and then take your turn. So
Okay, yeah.
It's possible.
turn 2 stoic. Come on.
Get
Get that high res, 15%.
That would potentially work,
Yeah.
I think.
I haven't looked at the light. I haven't looked at the light one. Is that one any
Light
good?
is nuts. I think the light and dark Onimushas are nuts. Dark one's nuts because the base stats are good and it's got a crazy skill set. But the light one is really unique because you can't crit the light one at all.
Yep.
And if
You can't-
if you don't deal 25% of its max HP, it counterattacks you. So like Despair Nemesis is very funny on him. You just
Stay tuned
rotate
for
turn,
Obabo.
you heal, and you kill things, and you just go ham. You just
So
go
just like
absolutely.
a hyper tank. You just build them like a hyper tank, and then on a little bit of attack, and like Nemesis, and he's just gonna be a monster.
Was it Obabo got that one, right? I'm pretty sure he said he got the light one, not the dark one.
Well, Obama has a light one.
Did he really? Oh, that's awesome.
I know, so stay tuned. I look forward to seeing what it's going to be doing for him for sure.
God.
That'll be nice.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. And then the dark one is just nuts because it's plus 50% damage.
The dark
Yeah,
one is
that's-
the dark one's insane. It's yeah. I would like that one. That one sounds fun.
I got to fight one in RTA a couple days ago, and I still think he needs some setup. He does crazy damage, don't get me wrong, but my units are made of paper, and I was able to tank the AoE without death
Really?
break.
Hmm. Maybe the
So-
other guy just had bad runes.
That's
Rune
probably what it
correctly.
was. He was missing a rune. Yeah, that's
It's
definitely
just
what it
missing 4
I
runes.
played a Google match yesterday where somebody's Dark Onimusha with no defense break, just attack buff, one shot my Chongpong from full HP.
was. Really.
Oh, dang.
I will
Yeah.
say this
You
guy
ran up
didn't
a
have
six
attack
move,
buff
and you
either.
picked that last, and I was like, okay, time to see how much damage it does. And he just, I just instantly died.
All right then.
Any means either. Like I have 1.3k defense with 30k HP, and it's like, I'm dead. Okay, hit me for 31k flat. I was like, all right, I think this guy's fully skilled.
I guess I'll die.
The skill ups are super significant on them, right? Because they're not crit damage scaling units. It's like it's a lot.
Significant for all of them.
Well, you see the
which is
base
what-
stats on him as well, though. So he's an attack type, but so is the fire and the water are both attack type. But the fire and water attack types at 597 plus attack, and then you have him, the dark one, at 878.
Oh, okay, no, you're looking at 5-star versus 6-star because the dark one's 6-star.
He is an
The
F5.
water one's base attack is 736.
Who is
And then the
736?
Pardon?
Who's 736? You said
The water one.
the water one should be an equivalent to the fire. No. Oh, is there awakening? No.
No,
Yeah, that's
they
Awakening.
have the same attack, but you said it was 500 something the first time because I think you were looking at the 5-star awakened version of it.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Not the 6-star max version. Like just pick
okay.
a month, and then you can
yeah.
see.
It's also worth mentioning that the fire and the dark one both got speed awakens, whereas the water one got a resist awaken.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
He's
Chief.
gotta last long.
Why did you do my boy Blue Cocky like this? It's like, can you give him a better awaken, like accuracy or something? Even
It matches his
Or like-
passive.
They gave him resist, huh? I didn't know that.
Because it's gonna
Oh,
turn
sad.
2 you. That takes forever to ramp up.
Sad.
I'd use it. I'm not so upset when I see resist awakening. I'll always try to use it.
Resist needs a change. It's just
Actually, I tried doing a resist build on the fire one as well. Now I
Oh.
posted my stats up there, but
How'd it go?
I didn't get the amount of attack power that I wanted.
yeah, they've got to be like attack, or speed attack.
Mm.
And especially the fire one. He needs that. But yeah, resist needs a change. Frankly, it's kind of a worthless stat.
I just want to know the facts behind it. Like, I know
Well,
we know
the
what we
facts.
know. I know we know what
Yeah.
we know, but like I want Comptos to just come out with
Mm-hmm.
this is accuracy. This is how it works. This is resistance. This is how like I want the pure facts from them for accuracy res.
Pretty sure they did give us those.
Did they
I
really?
don't think they have.
Literally,
They gave us something
Formula.
close. Something close.
Oh,
Yeah.
something close to it.
Yeah. I mean, the closest we ever got was on that forum where they said this is how. Said the user who posted above is correct with the formula, and that was the best that we got,
Oh,
and it's probably the best we'll ever get.
where 100 accuracy versus 100 res is just 15% chance to res.
that's
So
cool.
resistance
I want my
worthless.
screenshot back from my old phone with 100 res Ada, 100 res Leo, getting slept by Wusa. Ada got slept, Leo got slept, and then he slept my Leo again. It was fun. That's a good laugh. It
Yeah,
was pretty fun.
uh,
Because Wusa you run on max accuracy or 85 accuracy at least.
I know I did.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's not hard. The thing is, it's not hard to get high accuracy on that unit because like you don't need anything else.
Yeah.
You need HP, defense, speed, and then it's like, okay, now what do I run? Max resist? Okay, easy. Max accuracy? Might as well run both.
Well,
Skill
it
one,
would help
right?
me sleep at night if that guy would just let me see his accuracy. Because
He's like
if he had the 85, you know what? I'd sleep fine.
Would you though, or would you just be
I don't-
mad?
No,
No,
you don't
I
need to
cry
do
every
that.
night, no matter what.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That doesn't change.
Yeah. I don't know. It's always like that, basically, right?
They didn't even know how their crit rate worked. True. They didn't.
Yeah.
It took them 5 years.
Have you guys talked about that yet?
That's next topic.
Oh, okay, cool.
We'll get
All
there.
right.
I wasn't sure if we talked about it last. Okay, I'll shut up.
We can move on to that topic though. We're looking at the time now. If
No,
you guys have more to discuss on these units.
The boys are good. The girls are okay. That's my summary.
Shizuka. I like Shizuka.
Yeah,
Shizuka's
Yeah.
I think we
pretty
can
good.
all agree Shizuka's pretty nice.
It's pretty good.
I just need a waifu now. Give waifus come to us, please.
You have a waifu?
They give me 2 Husbandos. I got a Chung Pong and a Carnal.
I'll take fire waifu.
Can't complain. Chung Pong's nuts, but
Yeah.
a Shizuka would just be fun.
Even I
The
wanted
one
one
thing,
with my playstyle.
the one thing that is interesting, they made the light skin the different one this time, as they always make the dark one like the off color skin.
What do you mean?
Like the
I have to look at these.
usually with every family, the dark unit has like a little marker on it that like makes it a little different. Like it'll have a different color hair or maybe a tattoo or something like that. But with this family, the Onimushas, or not the Onimushas.
Oh, the light one's different because the light one has
Yeah, the
black
light.
hair. They all have white hair.
Yeah, it's just interesting. This is the first time that I know of that they've done the light unit instead of the dark unit. With
I
a
think we'd
different
have
skin.
to take a look at like all the dark units. I've never looked into that before, but I think if you looked at all of them, we might see an inconsistency somewhere. But that's
I know
interesting.
Ran has like the light color hair, and I think
She got the
Bearing is
tattoo.
different as
Ran has
well.
the tattoo on the leg or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
That came out of nowhere because none of the other Rakshasas had the tattoo on the legs.
Yep.
That's useless trivia facts right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Summoners for Jeopardy. Hey.
Yeah,
What are
let's
we
bump
talking
over.
about right now?
Unless are you ready for it, Tyler?
So different units, the dark ones in particular, sometimes they'll have different skins. Like Ran, has that tattoo on her leg, whereas the other Rakshasas don't. That's what they've got into. So
I see.
And then with the new units, it's the light one that's different.
Were you just because the hair color's different or what?
Yeah. No, that's it.
I see. They usually make the light unit not have white hair.
That would make
Unless it's
sense.
It depends. If all the other ones have really light colored hair, the light one will always have dark colored hair.
Is there another family that has done that?
I believe the Neostone agents. I'm not 100% sure. I have to check. They usually try to off color the element base though. Like the dark one will have a light
Paladins are
light
different.
theme with like a pink purple. Flip it, and then the light one will have like a light and like a teal or a dark, like a lighter purple.
Okay.
Leona's black hair and then Jean's white hair or blonde.
Yeah.
They went with their element. Oh, actually, no.
You
They
have
just
to go
copied
all-
their element on
It
all of them.
depends on-
Ophelia's got red hair.
Yeah.
Josephine's got blue. Never mind. Doesn't even matter.
It depends on what you put the color scheming for the character. Some of them match, some of them don't.
It might just be like an art style preference for them. That's all. I don't think they're intentionally doing anything. I think they're just working it with how the color choices that they had. So I don't think they're trying to do anything on purpose necessarily.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
All right. Let's
crit
go.
rate time.
We've got
Let's go.
question 3, guys. Crit rate changes. What are your thoughts? Because I know mine.
I also know mine.
I already made a whole video on it. The whole thing is basically whatever. It's 4 years of it. Everyone played with it. Everyone adjusted to it. Whatever. I think the fact that they even came out and said like, "Hey guys, this is an issue for 4 years," instead of just being like, "Hey, those recent idol skins broke the game," like is pretty great.
Mm.
I don't think a lot of games and a lot of other things would really come out and be like, "Hey guys, this is something that happened. This is like," that's a lot of transparency, and that's a lot of what the community asks for. And then it's funny because everyone's like, "Man, Come To Us never gives us anything. They never tell us anything. They're never transparent." It's like they literally just told you they fucked up for 4 years, and you want, what else do you want them to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, like and I get it because it was broken for 4 or 5 years, but we all got used to it, and at this point, I think it'd be fine if you just make it a feature. Like if that's going to be your fix to it, like I don't really care one way or another. I respect him for coming out and admitting, hey, we kind of dropped the ball here for 4 years. Sorry about that. So that was pretty nice. But
my question to you threw about it though, real quick. What are your
What?
thoughts on Lest versus Chami? Did Lest have units that were not supposed to crit end up critting?
No. God.
No.
So you
I
thought
don't
Lest
think it
deserved to lose that match then?
I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
I don't think it's one of the, for me, that's like, even though that's like a bug or like it's like I should have known better, a lot of it comes down to like, if we knew about it back then or if things were changed back then, that entire match would have been different anyways. So it's kind of irrelevant to talk about it, right?
Okay. Good point. Good point.
Right. It's like, guys, if I knew that Bitcoin was going to be, 15 grand one day, why did I sell them at 1,000? You know what I mean? Like it's one of those like, sure, hindsight's 2020, but like if you had known that information going into that match wouldn't have existed in the same capacity because it probably would have been a different draft.
True. Okay.
Like a lot of people have brought that up. They're like, well, I feel like Lest got cheated. And it's like, I guess, yeah, you can look at it that way, but
what about the people consecutively violent proccing him 12%? Is that cheating? It's it's part of the game. It is what it is.
It's
but
more what it comes down to is you look at it and it's like it is more than you expected it to be from what you thought it was supposed to be, right? And what you understood. And I get the frustration of being like, well, this is what the game says, and this is what I interpret it as, which makes sense, right? You interpret it as you read it directly what it says. However, at the same time, you let that through knowing you had that chance, because that chance could have existed even if it was only 15% every single time, right? That chance exists and you know it exists. So you're comparing like, okay, he had like a, theoretic number, random numbers, but like, let's just say like a 20% chance to win based on those revenges versus like a 35% chance to win on those numbers, right? He still took that gamble.
Mhm.
He got punished for it. We'll never know like how significant it actually ended up being. That's why I don't think it's too relevant to get hung up over.
Yeah.
I agree with that, but I do think it's a slightly bigger deal than you're making it out to be, because let's say you go to a casino and the slots are advertised at a 15% chance to win or 15% chance to lose, but in reality it's a 30% chance to lose, and you as the player are unaware of that. You don't know those true odds. Like I agree it's not worth getting hung up over, but
You think you're comparing things that are very different though. You're comparing something that is, it comes down to that. Okay, so people always give this analogy that like in Japan you can't gamble, right? But pachinko exists because there's some guaranteed reward from it, so it's legal, right?
Okay.
There are loopholes to those things. You're saying somebody is intentionally lying to gain a heavy advantage, right?
I'm not saying they're intentionally lying.
Well, you're saying a casino is advertising the rates of 15% chance to win, but it's not actually 15%. If they don't know that it's actually not 15%,
Yep.
there's a liability held there, right?
Right.
That is forced because of the field that it's under, right?
You're right. I'm not trying to place blame on Come To Us. I'm absolutely not doing that. It was a bug. No one knew about it.
They took the blame, so
They did as well. That was huge of them to do. I give them props for that as well. I don't think anybody should be held accountable. I guess the best.
I think there's accountability that should be held. I just think that what people want from accountability is unrealistic.
I agree.
Like for example, the championship match, with the
Mhm.
Mito. So it's like people want accountability for that. It's like, but what are you gonna do?
The
Take
biggest
guys check
thing,
back.
the biggest thing I can take away from it is it just feels sad.
Everything is just sadness. Doesn't matter how you look at it. It's all just sadness.
Yeah.
All just
Feels
sadness.
sad.
Only reason I brought that up was because I've seen it in the community as well before, so I thought we might touch on it a little bit.
Okay, I'm gonna give you one of the best comparisons that I can come up with for something that is unintentionally in the game, but it exists and it was allowed to be played through, and it was decided as it. Dota TI Dragon Claw Fountain Hook. There was a player named Dandy he would with a combination of Pudge and Chen, and he would hook somebody and they would teleport him back to Fountain, and it would drag that unit all the way back to the team's Fountain and kill them. And that was technically considered unintentional, but it was agreed upon that because it was in the game at the time and nobody had known about it or anything like that, they said that it was an acceptable play and it was carried forward. They as a game and as a company decided we have to go with it, right? It's in the game. It's something that's there. It has to be kept. I think that we can kind of apply that same mentality to like that Summoners World Championship. It's like, it's in the game. It happened. That's just what it is, right? Let's move forward. We'll fix it. Nothing will happen. It'll never happen again, right? But I mean, that was one of those moments in like esports history where it was like, is this going to destroy like esports, right? Like, is there any credibility left if you have like game-breaking bugs like this in $100,000 tournaments, right? Same thing applies here. I think that the approach that they're taking now is fine. Fix the game, move on.
There's really nothing you can do about it. Anybody suggesting there's nothing you can do about it.
They also gave out 500 crystals and a lot of energy too. It's not like that's nothing, but
that is nice.
It is a 5-year bug too. So I get that some people are still upset about it. However, the fix, I'm not sure if actually, just getting rid of it and I'm not just keeping it and calling it a feature might not be the right move. I don't know. I'd like to hear your guys' opinions.
Don't call it a feature.
Feature. We've been ruining our units and playing this way for 5 years, 4 years, whatever. So
the Adarag user in me is like devastated, but I don't think it's going to be that bad. So all I look at it right now, and I can't help but go back and think of, so when Ragdoll was first introduced, was season 1, was it 10% attack bar gain, and that was it. So nothing else was in his passive. And this was a different time then, Ragdoll was considered not a viable unit at the time. Now, rune quality, not that great. All the units that we had in the game, different time. So I get it. 10% then was not good enough, and he was actually considered a not good LD Nat 5. He was then brought up to 20%, considered the most broken thing in the game, and I will agree. Listen, I played during 20%. I got Guardian rank my very first year playing this game. Honestly, probably because of Ragdoll. 20% was nuts. We went down to 15%. I thought he was good at 15%. I know 20% was pretty ridiculous. He's down to 15% now. Even Ada went down as well because the amount of damage that he was producing was pretty wild with that passive. So the damage went down, and did they change his attack bar gain as well? They may have changed the attack bar gain as well. I can't remember the nerf on him exactly because I knew it wasn't big enough for me to even really whine about. So Ragdoll here now at 10%, where at the very beginning we had this discussion before and we said it was a different time, and that's why 10% wasn't considered great and 10% is considered good now because we have more units that crit more. People have better rune quality. There's a lot more crit out there, so 10% now technically is still good. Crit rate bug, we're losing this crit rate, we're going back. Does that mean people are going to be critting this much less? Rune quality is still good.
Less though, like it's better for you, right? You just take less damage. Like sure, you get less attack bar, but you also take a significantly lower amount of damage.
I have been farming for 5 years high value non-swift runes, and that's my own fault.
Also, your season 1 comparison, the reason that 10% sucked in season 1 is because all that mattered was taking turn 1 because you could infinitely violent proc.
It was different time.
And if you had a Tableau, you just know the opponent just never took a turn ever.
Tableau Iris. Oh,
Tableau Iris Sierra. Ganny, it was just insane. You just destroy everyone. You go first, it's over. Game is over.
GG. You're never taking a turn.
Different
or if you do, Iris will heal up everything anyway.
But that's just the Adarag user in me talking right now.
Yeah, so a lot of people are talking about crit bug. They're like, oh, is this going to ruin my dungeon teams? Is this going to ruin my triple Akadu? It's like, a lot of the time, if your triple Akadu team is like, your vert isn't 100 crit, it doesn't, that's your fault. Another thing to go along with that is, I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I'm pretty sure that the crit bug came with the animation. And so I don't think it actually applies in dungeons because there are no crit animations in dungeons.
They explained that it was the zoom in for arena crit critting animation, and that's was the change they made in 2016. And so from there, the crit rate bug blossomed and was never noticed, because how would you notice? Everyone wants to crit until 2A Miho. Granted, ragdoll art of things, but we just kind of assumed, that's just our units, But it really wasn't until 2A Miho that we were like, man, I really don't want to crit. Why am I still critting here at 15 crit? So, but yeah, I'm not entirely opposed if they just want to keep it. I also am fine if they change it to crit rate is your actual crit rate, and that's fine. I'm fine either way. I will adjust my runes. It's not a big deal to me, but it could impact a lot of mid game players. So I'm curious if you guys think keeping it is better or just making the change to be crit rate is what it is overall for the game.
I think
it's better.
fixing. Sorry, didn't want to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think fixing it would be better. It's number one, it would be easier to get into the game. It's one less hurdle you have to jump over, because if you're trying to explain to your friend of the game, oh yeah, so not only does accuracy resistance not work, also crit rate's actually not what it says, your friend's gonna be like, okay, this is way too much.
Well, you would just incorporate it into the base and then adjust, right? So every unit would start with higher base crit rate, so that it actually reads what it says. But you're making it a feature.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah. So like every unit would start with like 30 base crit instead of 15, something like that.
Okay.
If that's the path they wanted to go.
Yeah, I still don't think
that's
the best way to go, because that makes crit rate almost a less valuable stat.
Oh, it does. 100%. It makes it less valuable.
Because
that's a very good analogy.
It would allow you to focus way more on speed, because I see so many Barbaras at 300 plus speed with 60 crit, and they're still critting almost. No, it's not fine.
I said that's mine.
That's yours. Oh. That's just way too consistent of an attack bar booster hybrid with a damage dealer to exist in the game, in my opinion. I think that's absolutely broken if you can reliably get that massive attack bar reduce in addition to having that insane speed.
Yeah, I definitely don't disagree with you. I'm just throwing the ideas out there, but
no, I understand.
Because I just adjust my runes. I'm just gonna run a slot 2 with more crit rate.
I feel like everyone would just adjust their runes, but I feel if they change it, the meta would potentially not a lot, but get a little bit slower.
Perhaps. But I think they're probably just going to get rid of the bug, quote unquote, and just crit rate is your crit rate, and that's that. And people just need to adjust, get used to it, and learn to rune their evolutions on 100 crit, and that'll be the end of it.
I mean, I think they're definitely fixing it. They reimbursed us. Well, not reimbursed us, but they already gave their little apology out there. It's happening, so we're all just gonna have to live with it in the end. I personally, I like the stats. How can you not? You were critting.
Yeah.
People were critting. It made it easier to ruin stuff up. But at the same time, like, there's a lot of times now where you don't actually want to be critting, and I'm seeing my 21% crits and still critting, and 30% still critting and stuff, and they're in those situations you don't want them to crit. I've watched. I've been sold by Mio way too many times, I'd like to admit, where I drafted 4 units to counter it, and just the game said no. You just take it.
Yeah, I have literally 0 crit rate on my Nephthys, and I cannot tell you the amount of time she hasn't killed Mihos in matches. So I'm not going to complain if they revert everything. So, but I'm just sort of playing devil's advocate, throwing it out there for the mid game players who are going to complain about their lower crit rate.
Well, it's people will complain, but it happens to everyone. It's not like they're just looking at that one guy farming away. It's like you don't get crit, but everybody else does. It's still a fair playing field.
Definitely.
It's just, I don't know, it's difficult because everyone will have their different like approaches to it, right? It's like you and I look at it as like it's everyone has the same playing field in that sense, right? Whereas some people will be like, well, it's not the same playing field because I have a different expectation going into it. And it's like, while I agree that is a fair thing to say and think about it that way, I just personally disagree with the logic, right?
Yeah.
Like I understand it and I'm like, okay, that exists and it's valid. I choose not to like push that point.
You have to play by Come To Us's rules, and if Come To Us is changing the rules, then and they're telling everybody they're changing the rules, then maybe you should move your expectations to align more within those rules.
Yep. Yeah. All right, so we've gone over a lot today, guys. We've gone over new units. So we went over the Onmyoujis, we went over the Onimushas, talked about the crypt bug. Is there any last topics that you guys want to bring up before we see if there's anything chat wants to bring up? I know we kind of went through and kind of responded with chat a lot as we went through things. But is there anything you guys wanted to bring up today specifically that was separate of what we had already talked about?
I don't think so. We got everything I'd like to discuss on the new units. We got a lot of fun stuff to play with now. I think I'm very okay with the Nat 5s not being introduced broken or really, really overpowered. I think they're in a good spot where in the next balance patch we might see one or two of them in there. I'm happy about them. I like the new units. I think they did it right finally though. Like they introduced 4 units where it wasn't like, wow, dump every dollar you have in some of these things, aka Beast Riders at the time when those things were introduced. They were so strong when they were introduced.
And then you don't get any, and then you're sad.
So I think they did it right this time though. Even though that
Absolutely
fire
agree.
Every attempt and reiteration at introducing new units will be different and kind of like up and down. So I'm in agreement with you. I'm okay with how things are going right now.
I'd call it a solid 9 out of 10.
I like it, especially the 4 stars. I like the 4 stars are a little more usable off the bat. That's kind of nice.
Something I do want to bring up that goes kind of hand in hand with the crit rate bug is month-long FRR.
Oh yeah, we do get that.
That's insane.
Nice.
Month-long FRR means lots of rune cleanups.
Yeah, I should actually rune up my 206 stars. I got a lot of them sitting in there without runes, so
Get that rune space back.
yeah. I'm always max, so I really need to do that.
You're
got a
not
month.
wrong, man.
I got a month.
Just the meta. I think the meta is terrible, to be honest. And the only reason I think it's worse than the last 2, and we talked about this last podcast with Patrick here, but I think the meta, the point of the meta that's frustrating right now is that it feels like you need everything, right? Unit wise, it really does feel like you need everything. Like I pulled Chung Pong, and suddenly like everything just feels a lot more open. Like it's like I finally got the last piece to connect like all these different like networks of puzzles, and it's just like it's really frustrating to play at that when you don't have a lot of those things. Like I think a lot of the metas require like a couple of key units here and there, and then like really good runes, right? Really good runes, good drafting. It's usually how it is. Right now, it really feels like you need units a lot more than you did in the past. Just because Water Ryu is so prevalent, Oki's so prevalent, Chung is so prevalent. Like there are so many things right now that are just like a tier above everything else that it's hard. It's really hard if you can't really counterpick people. There are not a lot of flexible options.
I definitely feel that this has been the case for the past like 3 seasons, where you need units more than other types of metas, because it started with the Beast Riders. The Beast Riders was where you have to have this unit. If you don't have it, well, sucks to be you. you're just gonna be borderline C3 G1 as a Guardian player. Sucks to be you. And so this is the first meta where I actually have the units for once, which is probably why I'm doing so well. So I'm not gonna say I hate the meta because I'm doing well, but I hate the fact that I need all these units, is what I'll say. I hate that you have to have these Nat 5s in order to compete. And I don't know the solution though, other than like some sort of Molong, earth-shattering type balance, 2018 balance patch type thing. I really don't know.
The big issue is that like they introduced new Nat 5s into the game with Street Fighter units being able to be used in RTA, and now these new units, like we have the Onmyoujis and the Onimushas. Like the Onimushas are a good addition to the game because they have decently strong regular element ones, right? But the issue that comes with that is that at the same time, and people forget this, but they nerfed one of the best viable free-to-play options in the game. They nerfed Vigor pretty significantly. Like 1 turn cooldown on skill 3 is quite a bit. Like that's not a small nerf. Like on paper it seems like it's a small nerf, but in gameplay and in practice that's like really significant.
Yep.
Right, Molly got a nerf too, so CC got a little bit stronger again.
Yeah.
Vigor meta was awful just to play through because you play one style, and it takes 10 minutes for a match half the time. So
But it was more accessible to people. That's the thing, right?
I get that, but also who is Molly? Molly, I wouldn't consider that accessible.
even without Molly, even just having like Vigor doesn't get picked at all anymore. Like it's so rare to see a Vigor picked.
It is.
Yeah. It's just not strong enough anymore.
Last season, you saw Vigor every other match.
Mm-hmm. No, it was Molly Vigors constantly. So
yeah.
Even without the Molly though, like even people without Molly would still pick Vigor because it was a significant damage dealer. It had fast enough cooldowns to rotate. It's like that 1 extra turn on defense break gives him a dead turn, and you just don't do anything with that dead turn, right?
Yeah.
It's so nice now.
It's just frustrating
So
because
nice.
like
I definitely prefer it without them meta. I did not like the meta just because I have my playstyle. I like going first. I like controlling, but also, I don't like my matches to take forever. Just felt like in that meta they did. So,
yep.
I wish more playstyles were viable. I will say that for this meta is if you're not going first, boy, you're in trouble. So turn 2 is not really a thing for this meta.
And that comes back to one of the only counters for the first turn meta being Water Ryu. I've seen so many Water Ryus on slow Despair runes to counter those Chungpong Oki teams.
I let him through, man, because Jianpong got cool. Good luck. I'll let you take your chance and try and strip and push me, my Jianpong.
Despair Ryu is actually not as good as like theoretically it's good because like someone strips you and then you counter stun them, but like the amount of times you counter stun the unit that you need to stun just is not there. It's just not there. Like
I agree.
Maybe one in every 15 matches, like you hit the right unit, but
I agree.
You miss it and then you just get controlled and it's over. Right? If you're on Swift, at least you can contend turn 1 and you can change attack bar.
I don't think it's that strong, but some people it's their only counter. That's all they got. They don't have a Juno. They should have a Verde. And generally they do pick him if they're going slow. And then they might pick like an Oki or a Ciara just to try to take your draft. But sometimes that's all they got, man.
I have to run mine on Despair, and mine's a 280 Despair. If I did it on Swift, I'd probably be like 285. So
how are you getting those Despair runes, man?
hey,
Yeah.
my Despair rune's pretty good. It's all dimensional hole, man.
Oh, that's where it came from.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. The Predator comes out like tomorrow.
Is it tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yeah. So it's the 3rd.
Nice.
Free rune that I'm probably gonna sell.
I hate that content, but gotta clear it every.
Yep. It's been easier. I think the first month was the roughest. And then since
you just got to figure out how to do it, you know what I mean? And now there's
Yeah.
plenty of YouTube on it. There's plenty of YouTube content creators out there you can watch to see like the style or how you have to play the bosses. They're all relatively the same with different little things added to them. But once you once you understand the basis of what you need to do, like creating the team is relatively simple, especially where you can just check and see what people are using.
Yep.
And like all the information's there. So anybody struggling with it, I think they just have to take a step back, read out every skill you have at hand, and then apply them accordingly, because that's all you have to do when it comes to Predator right now. On the side of a little bit of RNG, that you get your defense breaks when you need them, and so on and so forth. Don't overproc, because you can get a huge penalty for overprocking in Dimensional Hole. So it is a little bit of RNG some days.
There's always going to be RNG, especially when Vile Runes are in the game.
True. But yeah, in terms of the meta, I do wish that it didn't require certain nat 5s, but that has been the case for the last, I want to say, 3 to 4 seasons. So ever since Beast Riders came out, where you are required to have certain specific nat 5s, and you better have a lot of them, or you're in trouble. And this meta particularly amplifies that, with needing Okeanos, Sierra, Jianpeng, all those sorts of things.
I wasn't too heavy into RTA until like season 10 or something, but pre-season 10, let's go like a year after RTA was released. What was the meta like? Because I hear stories of Genny Hathor, that's true. I hear stories of Camilla. I'm like, oh, what?
That was before the violent nerf. Camilla was a really, really good thing pre-violent nerf. She could just solo. She could just proc infinitely, heal up.
Okay.
That happened to me. I forget the guy's name. He always looked like his eyes were tired. He had a really good Camilla. His Camilla 1v4'd me. I can't remember the guy's name though. But yeah, Mo Long was the thing too. When Mo Long came out.
Yep.
Like Mo Long, Genny Hathor.
2017 Mo Long. Never forget. Second skill.
Syntac.
Did everything.
You guys are talking about Syntac, right?
Yeah, Syntac. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Syntac.
Syntac created the Hathor meta a long time ago. Long time ago.
Yeah.
People talk about Hathor being dead, but the thing is, it's not true. Like, Genny Hathor is still really strong. It's just not as much of a prevalent first pick. Like, Hathor is still one of the strongest pick 5 slot units. Because if you pick her in slot 5, a lot of the time people have to ban it, or they have to take a really bad gamble they don't want to take.
Yep.
Right? Even Boo Boo says it, right? He says Genny Hathor is still really strong. Because it's true. Genny Hathor is still really strong.
It is.
Right? There is so much opportunity when you can throw Genny Hathor in there that if you get it through, you're probably not going to lose. Unless someone like leaves in a fiery or something, like you're not gonna lose. You're not gonna lose the Genny Hathor. Once it starts, it doesn't stop. It's just over.
Yep. And it's definitely still good and viable, and I do see it. Pinkroyd still uses Hathor quite a bit, so it's the rank 1 player. So it's definitely not a dead thing. It's just that other things have taken its place in terms of CC.
Do you think people have stopped using Hathor because they're just bored?
I think it's because Okeanos and artifacts. I think it's mostly artifacts, to be honest with you.
That's fair.
It's because you need to deal more damage per turn. When you CC things, it's like hard to deal damage if you're just using Genny Hathor. You need something else with your Genny Hathor, which is why, like, again, that's why things like if you use Vanessa with that, like, you can actually deal some damage, right? Or like if you have a Sierra, right? Like you have these extra units that can do that, right? In the past, having just a Vigor was enough because the 3-turn defense break with the speed buff was enough for you to just control people indefinitely, right? People have we were back to a speed focused meta, so you need to deal a lot, right? If you're not constantly controlling someone's Juno, are you really doing enough, right? And they're gonna pick Juno Fire Ryu, and it's like, okay, I have to ban the Fire Ryu because it's gonna beat me no matter what. And then it's like, okay, now do I fight the Juno? Like, what situation you have to fight it through, right? There are a lot more options that are good against Genny Hathor, but that doesn't make the combo itself bad.
Yep. It's gone from a Hathor first pick to Hathor's a 4th or 5th pick. And that's really what it boils down to. Because you pick Hathor first, you're gonna fight Juno, Verd, Fire Ryu. You're gonna fight all that stuff, and good luck, because that's what I learned with when I got Chiwu. I got Chiwu like last season, and then I was like, oh, Chiwu's so good. And then coming into this season, I was first picking him, and then it's a Verd game every game, and I'm like, wait a minute, Chiwu's not so good on first pick. He was more of a 3rd or 5th pick type of thing if I need it. So
I have a buddy who's running the same exact problem. He has like 4 300 speed units and he picks Chiwu Barber first every game, and all he faces Juno Verdes, and he's stuck in C1.
I don't do that. Yep.
Tell him to stop picking Chew.
Stop picking Chew.
No, seriously though, just don't pick Chew. Pick Chew last.
You make me feel better about feeding 5 of them now.
Give a water you?
Chiwu a bad unit. So it's just you just don't pick it first.
The thing is, it's like Chiwu or Water Ryu. Where it's like you just pick Water Ryu because it's more consistent on turn 1 every single time.
I wish I had one. I do not have one of those, but that is the only meta unit I see for this meta, so can't complain.
I just want to go back and get a couple of questions that was answered before. Someone was saying, so I'm guessing they're saying with the huge nerf to Triple Hikaru. I don't run a Triple Hikaru, but is Triple Hikaru getting nerfed because of the crit rate?
No. If you were
not significantly.
Yeah. There you go.
No. You should be running your Verd at 100 crit anyway, so that's on you if you're not.
Your Akadus don't usually crit that often. Most people don't have the runes to put like heavy damage on their Akadus anyways. They're just there for the team ups and the defense break.
I put 0 damage on my Akadus. My Verd is a Rage Verd 100 crit rate.
Well, some people don't run 100 crit Verd, and it's like, okay, that's the problem. You're building the most consistent team in the game, and you're building it in an inconsistent way, right? That in itself is the issue. The approach to it is the issue. If you're worried about like Akadus dealing less damage because they're less likely to crit, I'll tell you right now, your Akadus don't crit that much anyways, unless you're building them for like high crit. If you're building an Akadu at like 40, 50 crit, you're probably not relying on the crit to win. You're just relying on the team ups, right?
It's all on the Verd anyway. That's the whole crux of the team. So no, I don't think it touches triple Hikaru at all.
And then another question is, do you think once the newer RTA players, or I'm guessing the lower RTA players, finish off the rewards, so I'm guessing the low-ranking RTA players, after they finish all their rewards, getting all their points, I think he wants to know, is it going to slow down? Is it going to become more difficult where he's probably not pulling these people that are already completed their rewards, they're done? I don't think that's going to be really something to worry about at all in low-ranking RTA, the people who are done farming the rewards.
How low are we talking?
I've done 500 matches and I'm not finished mine yet.
Really?
I finished mine pretty quick, but I was doing every single wing every single day for the first month.
I'm in that boat.
But I mean, how low are we? We talking like fighter? Are we talking challenger? Like
I would imagine like towards that farming rank, so fighter ranks, roughly somewhere in there. I'm guessing.
I don't think it'll really affect the top end. It won't affect C3 plus at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it at all.
So
C3.
I think if anything, the point change system is probably what affects more things. And but I do think that RTA achievements reset per season, or some of them at least. I think some of them will reset per season. I hope all of them do, but I think some of them will for sure.
All of them do because it is
sure all
season rewards. So I believe every single one resets.
Yep,
I'm pretty sure.
That's a lot of points.
Yeah,
it is.
Give them that extra LD scroll a month is nice. I will never say no to that. So
never buy the root boxes, guys.
Oh, they're such a scam.
I bought a whole set of them 1 month just to show people how bad they were.
It's like the Guild Wars rune boxes, they're so bad. They're the same thing. Oh. But yeah.
What do you guys think of the F3 hole, or F3 trap, people are calling it right now? The 300
ranking thing? You mean the massive gap of points? Like
yeah, the 350 to 400 point gap in F2 and C1.
I don't think that's something to worry about. Like, if you're down there in that rank and you're not climbing enough to get out of it, I think that's, once again, you're struggling with the meta. It's a lack of units, might be a lack of rune quality, could be a drafting issue, but anyone that's down there, you probably just have to find out what you're doing wrong and fix yourself, or if it sadly is coming down to units, it's just coming down to units, but I don't think that gap should be anything to worry about. It's just such a low rank, and everyone's just earning their way to get out of it. I think something else to bring up though is have we ever seen G1 as high as it is right now?
Oh,
and when do we think it's going to be finishing?
I'm at 1990 points right now, and I'm not even ranked 400, and this is crazy how fast.
There's a 600 rank gap between G1 border and 1 game up on G1.
There you go.
There are 600 people between like G1 and like 1 win out of over G1.
Wow, that is
So,
crazy.
I think you mentioned the hole in fighter. I think that's a very good indication that we need to add another in between set of ranks. I mean, that hole can exist, and that's fine. Just fill the gap, right?
Yep, I'm totally in that boat. Yeah, I agree.
I think another rank should exist between fighter and conqueror. Yep.
I actually see that as like a super quick fix answer. They can literally just like add another set of ranks in that bracket and just give rewards, and they'd be like, easy done. Like they don't lose anything for doing that. It doesn't anger people. They just give more, right? It's just more people get more opportunities for more things.
Yeah, I've just seen so many.
Warrior, conqueror. There you go. We'll stick with the theme.
And then there's more rewards for achieving that rank.
Yeah.
You create really big gaps in certain places, and that's where you find out like that's where the new rank needs to go, because that's the indication of difference in terms of strength, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's an easy fix. Just add another rank.
I've seen so many people get demotivated because they just get into fighter 3 and then they get paired up with a guy who just got kicked out of conk at 1550, and I get it. It can be rough.
I think it's more of a I think we used to call it a rune check. I think it's a rune and unit check now.
Yes, and one of them are significantly harder to get.
Yeah, this meta is a unit check, so
it's tough.
It's both.
Yep. I think there was.
I don't think there's
one
much else to
other
talk about.
question though.
I think I want to say I want to call it there because like I don't want to do another 2-hour podcast.
I know, yeah.
I love you all, but I can't do a 2-hour podcast every week if I need to make the videos.
We good.
Yeah. If you guys have more questions, you want any guests, anything specific, leave comments below. They'll be in the YouTube video over on my YouTube channel. You can always message me or Stoic if you guys have guests you want to bring on and stuff like that, etc., etc. I don't know if there's too much else for it. That's kind of how it is. I promise I will add chapters to all of the podcasts so you can kind of see like what topics are going on at each time, just to make it a little more easy to follow along if you get lost or something, or if you want to just like dive into a specific topic instead of other ones. But yeah, thank you guys for being here. Thank you all for joining us for the podcast today. We are likely going to be adjusting the time for start depending on the guests though. Normally we would just have a fixed time for the podcast. Normally it would be like every single time we're doing it 3 p.m. PST. We are going to be doing adjustments on times when we have EU guests or Asian guests, just based on like the time zone, so it's a little more flexible for them. I know Stoic and I have a little bit more flexibility on that, so sometimes we might start a little bit earlier, sometimes we might start a little bit later, but we will try our best to let you guys know at least a day or two ahead. If you want information on that though, make sure to follow our socials. Both myself and Stoic will be posting about those on Twitter whenever we figure out and finalize the guests and the time. Hopefully that'll be Sunday evening, Sunday night, or sooner, but that is just another avenue for you guys to figure out more information. Anything else you guys want to say? Thank you again for joining us on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
It was fun. Yeah,
absolutely.
Go follow all of them and make sure to use your Twitch Prime on this guy up here, because he's a new partner, Pog.
No, this guy and that guy down there, or that guy.
And that's right, guys. The command PodVod is in chat right now. That is OnceInLuv's YouTube. So if you're not subscribed to him, please subscribe and get notifications when the podcast does go live. If you guys did miss any part of it at all, and also please tune in for experience gained. It's been an incredible series that OnceInLuv has been doing. I can't stress it enough. I am already waiting for the next experience gained because I've had so much fun watching these. So if you guys have not watched experience gained yet, I don't know what you're doing. Guys, tune in for some more from him. It's been a lot of fun.
All right. Cheers, guys. Podcast videos will be up before the end of Thursday. 100%. I'll have both of them up.
All right, guys. Take care. Catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Where'd it go? Here it is. All right, guys.